Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nick Tan Chats, my magic and mostly mentalism review show. My name is Nick Tan, and on today's episode, I won't be doing a magic nor a mentalism review, but instead, I thought I'd just chat with you guys a little bit about my experience doing my first live stage show after almost 2.5 years. So hi again guys, welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks for showing up, thanks for tuning in and spending some time with me today. So I have been away, right? I have been slightly absent from YouTube, but it's been a really busy past 2 weeks or so, you know. The first week was spent just getting ready for my first stage show. And on top of that, last week, my father was actually warded, you know, in a hospital for dengue fever. You know, so he's still there today, you know, he's still in the hospital, and so yeah, the past week has been slightly crazy for me. I've been going, you know, back and forth, up and down to the hospital and back. So, well, yeah, it's been really busy, but I've got some time today, and so I thought I'd just do an episode because I've been really wanting to just chat with you guys a little bit about this whole experience, you know, getting back on stage after so long. So COVID-19, right? In 2020, you know, this thing struck the whole world, and well, in Singapore, you know, and I'm sure around the world as well, the whole events industry, right, literally just collapsed like overnight. For the whole duration, you know, the whole period of time during the whole pandemic, myself, you know, my colleagues, my friends, you know, in the events industry, mentalists, magicians, comedians, ventriloquists, dancers, you know, I don't know, balloon twisters, you know, jugglers, you name it, right? All of us have been unable to perform, right, at live events because no events like that could take place. So it's been a really difficult time, you know, for all performers, you know, professional performers here in Singapore. But things have started to open up again. Towards the end of last month, in March, our government actually announced the relaxation, right, of some of the measures that were in place, right, during the pandemic. And so live events are allowed to be conducted again. So we are all really excited to be back out there, you know, and slowly getting back in action and doing our stuff. So I was really blessed, you know, really quickly I started getting inquiries, and I had one confirmed booking. And well, when I first got that first confirmed booking for, you know, a live stage show, it was a mix of feelings for me. You know, there was like nervousness, excitement, anticipation, and fear, you know, even, right? Because, you know, although I've been performing for many years, this is actually the longest time I have spent not performing, right? Not performing on stage. I've not gotten on stage for like 27 months. It's almost 2.5 years, you know. So this has been the longest stretch, I think, so far in my career where I've been unable to perform. So before I chat about the show proper, you know, I'd just like to show you guys a quick trailer that I put together about, you know, what happened during that particular show. I did post this video on my social media, okay? But for those of you who are not on social media, if you don't follow me on social media, this one's for you. So let's have a quick look at what happened during my first stage show.
Are you a Scorpio by any chance? You are, right? A Scorpio, energy of a Scorpio. A Scorpio born in the later part of the year in November. Just be honest, alright? Were you born on the 9th of November? Yes? There you go, thank you. If it's close, this is a success. Okay?
So that was it, right? That was the first stage show that I've done, you know, since COVID-19 began, you know. So it was really stressful, you know, exciting at the same time. It's a mix of feelings, really, you know. But as you can tell from the video, it's performed in a ballroom, right, in a hotel ballroom, and this is kind of like usually, you know, the kind of environments that I tend to work in. So let's talk a bit about this show in particular, right? The first thing I want to cover is my preparation for doing this particular show. Up till this this point, for the past, 2 years or so, all I've been doing were like virtual shows. So I've just been doing like the material that I put together for the virtual show, like over and over and over again. And so that material for the virtual show was kind of like all I knew, up to this very point. And so, going back to a stage show, like suddenly, it was a bit of a daunting feeling, right? Suddenly you're not sure if you've got everything in place or whether you still have it, right? To head on up there and to entertain like, hundreds of people. So the first thing I did was this. I actually rewatched full performances that I've given prior to the pandemic. And watching those videos, it was really good for me. It was like a revision of sorts, I thought of it like, how when we watch a video download, and we tend to like copy the performer on the video, right? Well, this was like kind of like a case for me to kind of copy myself, I suppose, and kind of revise the kind of things that I did, right? The routines, methods, because, you can kind of see what happens where, and also, your script, your lines, how you move on stage, everything, right? The staging, your props, where they go. It was a really great visual way for me to just watch myself doing it and just mentally preparing myself before I actually started rehearsals. Then before rehearsals, right, came the material selection. I saw this as an opportunity. It's like a new start of sorts, right? So a part of me didn't want to just depend on the same routines that I've been doing prior to the pandemic, right? So I kind of like thought maybe I could try something new, But then again, a part of me was also like scared, because it's been a while, since you've got on stage. So maybe you should just depend on really familiar routines, right? Routines that you've done for like so many shows and that, they will work. So after just kind of arguing with myself in my head back and forth, I finally just allowed myself one new routine. Alright, one new routine as the second routine, so it came after my opening routine. This routine was a new routine. It's a mass audience participation routine, right, which I might review on a future episode. I'm just waiting for like the creator to give me the okay before I review it, okay? But if I do get to review it, I will definitely, refer back to this show so you will know that this is the routine that I was talking about. So I allowed myself just one new routine, just to have a sense of, something new, like starting again, right? And also to give me a sense of excitement to do the show. But for the most part, the other routines were just like routines that I have been doing really regularly up to this point. So once I decided on the material, all right, the show content that I was going to perform during this show, then came rehearsals, okay? And by rehearsals, I meant I literally set everything up, at home in my room. I set up the tables, the easels, I put up like chairs and things like that. Really just suit up, have everything in your pockets, right? Your envelopes, your billets, your markers, everything. Even my mic holder. I had a mic holder on there, and I also used a thick one of those markers as a microphone, all right? Because I really wanted to mime everything, rehearse everything, and know that everything is where I need it to be. Because in the past, I've had like situations where I've reached for a pen and it wasn't there, or I've reached for an envelope and it wasn't there as well, So this being a show that I've not done for a while, I really wanted to make sure I had everything in place. So I really just set everything up and just perform as though I was doing it for real. In the past, I probably wouldn't do this, every week, because I was performing quite regularly every week. So there wasn't a need for me to do that. But every time there's like new material, or if there's like a special customized thing that I needed to perform at the next show, I tend to have this kind of a practice where I set everything up in my room and just perform it for real to make sure that I have everything in place. This gives me the confidence to actually do the show on the actual day itself. Because I'm rehearsed so much, by the time I get on stage, right, it won't feel as though I have not done it before. Next, on the actual day of the show itself, right? Now in Singapore, normally the practice for performers, most performers, is if your show is at a certain time, we tend to arrive like half an hour before your stipulated performing time, okay? So that gives you time to just set up and prepare yourself before you head on stage. But this being my first stage show after so long, I actually made it a point to reach the venue an hour earlier. By the time I got there, right, the event had already started. Some awards were already being given out. The MC was already like addressing the audience and speeches were being given and things like that. But I really just wanted to get there early earlier than usual to kind of, I don't know, acclimatize myself, you know, to the environment again. It's an environment that I was really used to, right? I was really used to at one time, but because I've not been there for a while, you know, I thought it was important to just get there early and feel the energy in the room and to kind of like get your body, you know, like kind of used to the atmosphere again, you know, just to soak it all in, and that kind of mentally preps me as well to perform the show. Also, getting there earlier meant that I had more time to set up, right? So I could take my time and really set everything up, you know, and make sure everything I needed was exactly where they needed to be. I didn't want to rush, and I knew that I was as prepared as I could be. So there was something I didn't do and I wished I did, all right? And that is to bring slightly more material than you would normally require for the show, than you had planned to perform at the show. Because for this particular show, I had like a whole sequence planned to perform, all right? So I knew that all I needed were like these set of props. However, I made the little mistake, you know, of not packing just a little bit more, you know, into my case, because, you know, just knowing that you have a little bit more material when you actually reach the venue, I think it's a great kind of comfort, you know, because when you reach the venue, I mean, you have a plan in your head, right? I'm going to do these sets of, you know, routines or whatever, but when you get there, when you see the audience, you might change your mind, right? You might just suddenly get an instinct, and you may feel that, you know, what you had planned might not be the most suitable for that particular show. And so if you had extra routines, you could kind of like adjust and have a bit more flexibility, right, to plan a suitable program for that particular event. So I didn't do that, and I really wish I did, right, because I really felt that one of the routines wasn't quite suitable, but I had to go ahead with it anyway because I didn't have anything else on me at the time. Also, having extra material, extra routines that you can do also enables you, all right, to respond, you know, very quickly to changes in the requirements of the program. Because, you know, there are times when you know, you get to the venue and, you know, my show is like half an hour, all right, it runs for about half an hour, but there are times, you know, the client will come and tell you that you know, we need you to fill in an extra 5 to 10 minutes, you know, or we just need you to do 20 minutes today, you know, because we're like running behind time. Can you cut short the whole show? So by having some routines, extra routines, you know, it gives you a little bit more flexibility, you know, in terms of being able to plug and play, right, and kind of estimate how best to suit the last minute changes. So next thing I'm going to talk about is the audience's applause that day, right, at this event. And to be honest, it was not as like spontaneous at the start of the show, you know, and I had to actually like immediately, you know, it wasn't something that I kind of knew I was prepared for. Actually, I wasn't, you know, but I immediately kind of got a sense for what was happening, you know, and why they were not clapping and responding as spontaneously as you would expect them to. Now, this might just be like my own kind of theory, you know, or like my own concept, all right? But I really believe that audiences have been just so used to watching a screen for the past 2 years, you know, and all the entertainment is just on screen. And, you know, even if something amazing happens on screen, you don't applaud. So kind of like physiologically, so kind of like ingrained into their body, okay, they are already not kind of equating something amazing to applauding. You know, they've kind of like forgotten that kind of dynamic, you know, between performer and audience. So I had to kind of like re-educate them during the first like 1/3 of the show. In the first third of the show, I kind of identified probably this was the reason why, and I had to get them to applaud, you know, just simply blatantly request that they applaud for, I don't know, just really simple things, right? People coming up on stage, people giving me an answer on you know, from the audience, or even the fact that people were willing to come up on stage, give these two people a round of applause. I was just really blatant and openly asking for applause, you know, and just kind of, it was my hope that I was like training them, you know, the audience again, to be like open to just applauding spontaneously. And you know, it could have been like, I don't know, in my head, you know, or like psychological, I don't know, but I did really feel that after the first third of the show, just telling them to applaud, the next half of the show went much better, you know, and people were just like more relaxed and they were just clapping along more often. So this is just a point that I thought I'd share with you. You know, it might not be relevant to you, you know, but I just feel that, yeah, you know, people have been just so used to watching a screen for so long that they've kind of like forgotten how to applaud. So the next thing is this, people whom I bring up on stage, all right, and due to like regulations, people who come on stage had to be masked, okay? They had to wear, you know, face masks in order to interact with me. So it didn't occur to me at the time, but during my interactions with spectators on stage, it was really difficult to hear them. You know, because, you know, you're on stage and, well, there's ambient noise, there's music playing in the background, the spectator is nervous as well, so they don't speak loud enough for me to hear them. So conversations on stage, like, they weren't as smooth as I would normally be able to have them happen, right? So, for example, it would just be something like this, all right? It would be like, I'd like you to just think of the name of a childhood friend, someone that you knew from primary school. Do you have that name in mind? And once I asked them that question, the only response I got was literally something like this. So you have someone in mind? So, I'm sorry? You have someone in mind? Right? So I really had to like just really lean in and really listen close to them, you know, because I don't know, maybe they were shy or something, but I really couldn't hear them, you know, and so the performance was not as smooth, right, as I normally would be able to have it. So, well, nothing can be done about this, you know, it is regulation, you know, so for the time being, it's just something to take note of, I guess, you know, and just be ready for it when it happens. So one more problem I realized was this, okay, and I think this was like the biggest like lesson for me, you know, from doing this live stage show. The event actually had 200 people present. Okay, 200 people in the audience present. However, due to social distancing restrictions, they had to book a venue that could fit twice the size of the number of people, all right? So normally, I mean, at ballroom tables, here in Singapore at least, right, each table could fit like 10 people, normally, all right? So 200 people would just take up like 20 tables, all right? 20 ballroom tables. But for this particular show, I had like 40 tables, all right? Each one only sitting like five or six people, 5 people in fact. So it was a huge ballroom, you know, all the way stretching to the back, right? Like, you know, imagine this, right? 40 tables, the last table all the way in the back of the ballroom, you had to kind of reach out to them while you're on stage, right? So the energy that you give out has to be as though there were 400 people there. However, the energy that you got back, you know, the response that you got back was only half of the amount that you would normally get from a 400 people event. So if your kind of like body, your physiology, all right, is kind of used to, you know, the amount of energy you give out is the amount of energy you get back. If you're used to that kind of dynamic, you're not going to get it at social distanced events. So initially on stage, I was really confused, right? It's like, I'm playing like so big, you know, but I'm not getting back that kind of, that feeling, you know, that you get when you are really playing to like 400 people. And it was only like late, right? Almost the end of the show, then I realized that there were only half the number of people in that ballroom, you know, so obviously, I'm not going to get the same amount of response from 400 people. So in this situation, all right, now more than ever, you know, the energy of the show really has to come from you. You have to be the source of the energy when you perform. So if the last table is really far away, you have to just go at it and give your all on stage as though there were double the number of people there. And you have to be ready to just perform and operate, not receiving back the same amount of energy on stage. Now, for those of you who are not sure about this energy, you know, that I'm speaking about, all right, it's not something like mystical, you know, it's not like the force, you know, but it's something that you can actually feel on stage, right? As a performer, it's almost like a dance, you know, between you and the audience, right? How much you give out, when people respond, you actually feed off that energy, and then you can continue performing off that energy, right? So that's the energy I'm talking about. Okay, so it's hard to explain, but I think professional performers will kind of get what I mean. So one last thing before I end, doing this stage show, I realized that while I wasn't like rusty, you know, in terms of the material and delivering the show, I was really tired at the end of this event. I was really tired, and I was really quite taken aback actually about how just how tired I was physically, right? Just stepping off stage. So even though I've been doing like virtual performances up to this point, you know, it's a completely different thing. You know, I guess I've kind of lost a bit of my fitness, you know, when it comes to doing like a live stage show, you know, because of the energy that you give out, right? The amount of energy that you throw out into the whole ballroom, you're just not used to that physically anymore, you know. But well, yeah, I do think that it will just take like a couple of shows, you know, maybe 3-4 more shows, and then I will just kind of get back in shape, I think. So, yeah, that's my experience of doing my first live stage show after 27 months. I'm sure many of you out there, if you're a professional performer as well, you've probably had like the same kind of experience, you know, of being like slightly unsure, you know, about getting back on stage and getting out there again after so long. But I'm also sure, alright, that because you love what you do, we love what we do, we were also really excited to get back out there and work again. So if you do have your own like stories to tell, you know, just leave them in the comment section down below. I would love to read about them as well. Also guys, if you are new to the channel, don't forget, please subscribe to the channel, you know, hit the bell notification button, like this video as well. Do all these things, you know, because they really help motivate me, alright, to continue putting out videos for you guys on YouTube, and also to help me continue to grow this channel on YouTube. I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers. I really hope that I can hit 2,000 by the end of this year. So do help me out, hit the subscribe button right now. As always guys, till the next episode, do take care of yourselves, stay safe, have fun with your magic and your mentalism, and I will see you on a future episode of Nique Chats.